Hey guys, hope you're doing well. This is your next project. Now, this is going to go in as a project grade, so remember it's worth a little bit more. Just like the mandala, this will be worth 60%, and then that'll be the only two projects for this quarter, so it's really important that you make sure that you're on top of these. Okay, so we're going to talk about Keith Haring. I actually have my slideshow from when I would teach this in the physical classroom. I'm going to go over some things that are important, and I'm really sad that I can't actually show you the examples that I have. Because I have some pretty great examples in the classroom from the past couple of years of students and their topics. Your thing for today, though, you have this question. What will your theme be? Is it a movement or a cause? Make sure to watch this video, like I was saying, and then look at the slides. And if you want to explore information about Keith Haring, you can. I have a Zoom meeting at 11 o'clock. If you guys have questions or need help, my office hours are 10 to 12 if you need me. Okay, for my Tuesday and Thursday class, Tuesday, I may not be able to do 11 o'clock. I may push it back, but I'll let you guys know if that's going to happen. Your requirements. You need to have a theme that is recognizable and easily understood. You need to have at least 3 characters, if not more, including one symbol like he used and done neatly, well thought out. And then I'm going to talk about rhythm and movement, which are actually 2 principles of art, which I would have gone over too as well in class because that's the second half of the year we learn about. And also unity is another one that we'll talk about as well. Wednesday, for my third period class, your assignment page will be posted. For my Tuesday, Thursday classes, it'll be posted on Thursday for you. You can still start working on it. You just, won't be able to upload it till then. So for my slideshow, I'm going to go all the way up. Oop, and this is what happens when you're tired from the heat. Okay, hit present for you. All right, and here we go. So Keith Haring pop art. His early years. He was born in 1958 in Kutztown, PA. He wasn't interested in formal art growing up, and at the time, pop art was starting to make a influence. His favorite artists were those like Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, people who were unconventional. So this is Andy Warhol, this is Roy Lichtenstein. I'm sure you guys may recognize these things. Lichtenstein helped with comic books, and he did a lot of the dots. I was actually a character of his one year for Halloween. His works were shaped by TV, cartoon, commercials, comic strips, and ads. He went to college. He did attend Pittsburgh Center of the Arts, but left at age 20, and then he transferred to SVA, which is School of Visual Arts in New York City, and is extremely prestigious for an art school. But he eventually stopped going just because of, the social and cultural norms of the time. He did continue to live in New York City, but he was very poor because he didn't have a job, and he wasn't really, knowing what to do when he was dropping out of college at that point. He decided to become a subway artist. So during the 80s, he began working as an artist down in the subways. They call this kind of art graffiti art, but it is a little different, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. He was inspired by the graffiti that he saw all around him in New York City. And here you can see he's working. What he's actually using is chalk, and I'll get to that in a second. As a graffiti artist, a lot of his things were spontaneous, and creative, but they were also seen by everyone because they were in the subway. Uncontrolled graffiti is illegal, and it can be destructive to the environment because of the paint materials and what it might be on. That is a big thing, and he was not for that at all. He only drew on black paper panels that were going to be covered, and they were typically on like an ad in the subways. Like, I'm sure you guys have been in like Paco or SEPTA, and you see those ads that they have. Sometimes they were blank, and that's what he would use so that it wasn't infringing on anything illegal. He used chalk as well because it was easily removable, and it wasn't going to harm anything around it, basically like the environment in that sense. His style, you're going to see that he has these bold lines in his character. So what I usually use for that is Sharpies or black markers or pen, but you're going to want to make those lines stand out. He also used these rhythmic lines that make them appear to vibrate or move. It physically is showing movement. So 2 of your principles right there, rhythm and movement, is showing that. He simplified and stylized his figures as well. So as you can see, they're not really that crazy of, a character. It's basically you're drawing a stick figure and then you're outlining it, and then you get rid of the stick figure. If you do need help with that, I can add an additional video for Wednesday and Thursday's classes. Some other characteristics of his drawings that you're going to see a lot in his paintings is a radiating baby, dogs, dancing people, which is a very big thing if you look him up, and flying saucers. He created his own visual language. His symbols appear repeatedly in different artworks of his. This type of pictorial writing system is actually known as pictographs, and I talk about it in graphic design classes. So you're going to see things like the pyramid, different figures, the radiating baby, the spaceship, the dog. They're all circled in the various colors, but you're going to see also the rhythm and the patterns that are in there. And it's kind of like a puzzle, like trying to see and find what you can. but at the same time, like looking around and following the kind of the story across his artwork. A lot of people liked his artwork because it brought a human touch to the subway stations. The images were typically creative, mysterious, and often funny. Especially when you look at this example right here, you've got these four random, very, there's no detail to them and the characters, and they got this cell phone. What is it about? Like, why are they doing this? There's a very simple floor and a very simple background, too. So instead of actually looking like graffiti, it's kind of blended because of the size and the colors he uses as well. Some say his work resembles hieroglyphics, which is Egyptian art. If you're not sure of what that is, look it up. It's pretty cool and very interesting. And he had his own language of what things symbolize. You can essentially create your own language, but if you do with this, just make sure you identify it in the comments so I kind of understand where your stuff is coming from. So dolphins to him symbolize peace and love. You can use these symbols too, perfectly fine in your artwork. Okay, you can see that there's the dolphin in here symbolizing the peace and love. He turned this kind of like into a mermaid dolphin, same thing. Dolphins here. Two humans holding a heart means romantic love to him. That's the way he interpreted it, and that's the way he drew it. We all interpret things differently, and this was his choice in his artwork. A three-eyed smiling face meant greed or joy. Okay, and usually he used colors to represent that. Sometimes if you think about the color green, you may hear the word envy. Sometimes in like a lot of literature or a lot of different artworks, you might hear something like that. Envy and greed can represent green. Joy could be yellow. It could be purple, depending on the type of person basically thinking or interpreting it. His work began as simple drawings and turned into very complex artworks with dancing and pulsating figures. He also repeated figures in a very rhythmic pattern so that the pattern became more noticeable compared to the figure. So when you look at this is actually a wall. And you can see how far and how long it goes, but the patterns very much interact with the figures around it. He was also known as being someone that created artwork relating to social and political causes. So that is something that I want you to consider. I'm not going to make it a full requirement. You're either going to pick to do, his complete style, or you can do something that is social and political, because this is what he was known for. And this one represents AIDS, which I'll get to in a minute, I believe. He didn't limit himself to two-dimensional art, and he also did 3D sculptures. Okay, so Haring unfortunately died from AIDS in 1990. He was fairly young. He was very influential with his artwork throughout the years that he was alive, and some of his artwork is actually very influential today. I know that I've seen students wearing t-shirts from American Eagle that had Haring's artwork on them. I have seen graffiti out there in Philadelphia like this. He was very much an influential person in the community, and he still is today, even though he is not here anymore. So that is why I want you to even consider maybe doing something that means something to you, and how can you interpret it into his artwork? Could you do a saying? Could you do characters? Could you do styles? Okay, so some project examples. And like I said, I'm really sorry that I can't show you the examples from the classroom because I have some pretty slam and awesome ones. So you are going to be required to do at least 3 characters on yours. You can do more, but if you look at the space, 3, if you do them nice and large, they fill up a lot of space. What I want you to do is I want you to draw a stick figure and basically trace it afterwards, and then you get rid of the stick figure, okay? So hopefully that makes sense to you. It's like you literally draw that stick figure, and then you're leaving space, going around and tracing outside around it. You could do something theme related. I have had students in the past do basketball. I saw this one when I was searching for more examples of things that I've used in my classroom. And I've had students do soccer fields. I've had students do cheerleading. So that's something that means something to you. So you could represent it. But if you do, make sure you include everything else around it. You could do the rhythmic figures like he did, and then pick the colors you want to use to color it in with. Okay, the rhythmic figures are pretty popular, and that's why I included a lot of them. And I really like these because I have had students in the past do dancing themes. So a couple things about movement and rhythm before I move on. Using line and showing figures means they're moving across the paper. Gesture lines are those little dashes. You see where my mouse is? These are called gesture lines. You should include them somewhere. Okay, they should be next to your figures or maybe showing the movement. With this movement, though, comes rhythm. It's going to give it a beat across the paper. Rhythm in art just means that you're seeing some sort of cohesiveness, and it's basically bringing the artwork together like Unity would. Things can repeat, but they're not necessarily going to match. An entire image as a whole makes sense together with both the principles of design in there. Okay, so that's the last thing on my slideshow. I'm going to escape out of that. and go back to here. If you guys have questions, let me know. Like I said, the Zooms are going to be at 11 on Monday. Tuesday, I may or may not be able to do 11 as I'm doing something for the school that's kind of secret right now. So I may have to push that time back. All right, guys, let me know if you have questions and have fun with this project. Bye.